Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to paint an easy watercolor landscape using a loose technique in a semi-abstract style. You can find the list of materials in the description. For more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel. I started with a small pencil sketch to outline the main objects in the painting. It's going to be a countryside scenery at the end of a hot summer, featuring golden grass, blue sky, a tree, a small path and bushes in the distance. I'm starting by applying spots of clean water to the part of the painting with the sky. Here and there, leaving dry patches. I'm using here my big synthetic brush that imitates squirrel hair. It absorbs and then releases a lot of water. I'm taking a small amount of ultramarine mixed with a tiny bit of burnt umber to paint the sky. I'm applying the pigment to the sky part, but I'm only creating spots. I'm not covering the entire space to let the white empty spots depict clouds. I'm adding more water to my brush. I'm holding my brush very easily, allowing it to move freely on the paper. I'm smoothing out the bottom edge of the sky, painting a line. I'm taking a paper tissue and picking up pigment here and there to create light spots that depict clouds. Now I'm mixing some beautiful green color that I need for the distant bushes. I'm adding Sap Green to the mixture, Indigo, and a little bit of burnt Umber. I'm lifting the top part of the paper to prevent the pigment from flowing upwards. Using a paper tissue, I'm gently wiping the parts that float onto the sky area. I'm adding indigo to the already prepared mixture to paint the distant hills on the horizon. I'm adding more water to make this mixture lighter in tone than the bushes. This creates an eerie perspective and depth in the painting. I'm adding more indigo to the bottom part of the hill. I'm wiping the pigment from the bushes, which has spread onto the sky part, with the paper tissue. I'm deciding to paint over the cap in the bushes, as it's attracting too much attention. I'm mixing yellow ochre with a touch of Alizarin Crimson and a touch of the already prepared greenish mixture to depict the golden meadow at the end of summer, when the sun has scorched the grass under the blazing sun. I'm adding a little bit of burnt umber and alizarin crimson to the mixture and continuing to paint the meadow under the bushes. More ochre for the golden color of the meadow. At the bottom of the paper, I'm making dry strokes. This creates beautiful texture. I'm applying strokes at a slight angle to depict that this part of the meadow is on a slope. I am mixing more yellow ochre and burnt umber and detailing the second part of the meadow, which is also on a slope. There is a small path between these two parts. I am adding more water to the brush and applying pigment to the lower part of the paper. With a wet brush, I am applying diagonal strokes in the middle part to depict the slope of this hill. I'm sprinkling some table salt here and there to create an interesting texture in the foreground. Just ordinary table salt. It will absorb the pigment and beautiful spots will appear when the paper dries. Using a brush with clean water, I'm placing drops here and there to also achieve an interesting texture in the foreground. The paper has dried, and I'm noticing that the lower edge of the bushes is very harsh. I'm taking the already prepared greenish mixture and applying it to the lower edge of the bushes. To soften the lower edge of the distant hill, I'm blurring it with a wet brush and picking up some of the pigment with a paper tissue to remove the harsh edges. I'm adding drops of clean water to the foreground. I'm adding pigment here and there in the area of the bushes to give them more variety. With the tip of the brush, I'm painting diagonal lines with the same greenish mixture to show areas with green vegetation. The diagonal emphasizes the slope of the hill. A little bit of mixture of Ocher and Alizarin, which I had mixed earlier. I'm checking the wetness of the paper. It has already dried. I'm wetting the area where I want to paint a tree crown. Using Indigo, I'm detailing the lower shadow part of the crown, adding pigment in spots. I'm adding a Sap Green to the mixture with Indigo and applying it to areas in the middle part of the crown. Now I'm adding Sap Green to the already prepared mixture of Ocher and Alizarin to get a warm green color. And I'm applying it in spots on the upper part of the crown. I worry that the pigment might flow down the paper. I'm removing the excess from the lower part of the crown using the paper tissue. I'm applying strokes with Indigo along the edges to depict the silhouettes of the leaves. With a small brush, I'm applying drops of clean water, which blur the pigment in some places, showing gaps between the leaves. I'm adding dots of clean yellow ochre. This pigment has a property of pushing other pigments away. This will also create an interesting texture in the crown of the tree. I'm mixing Payne's Grey and burnt umber and paint the tree trunk with my semi-dry small brush and also a branch of the tree. I take my small mop brush and, using the already prepared dark mixture of Indigo and Sap Green, I'm applying it under the tree to depict the shadow. I'm not covering the whole area under the tree, but leaving the light areas with gaps. I'm wetting the brush and making the edges of the shadow soft. I'm also painting them diagonally to show the slope of the hill. I want to add light spots on the tree to show the gaps between the leaves. I'm adding drops of water and picking up a part of the pigment with a paper tissue. I'm adding just a touch of Indigo to the shadow under the tree to make it darker. With the already prepared greenish mixture, I'm painting the grass in the middle ground, using a small brush with a fine tip. I'm painting a line, but it turns out to be too dark. I'm picking up the pigment with a paper tissue, here and there. I'm tilting this line down to show the slope of the hill. I'm blurring the lower edge of the line with a wet brush. I'm applying spots and lines with the greenish mixture to the right foreground. I'm mixing Ocher and Alizarin Crimson and applying this mixture in spots to the foreground, blurring it here and there with a wet brush. I'm removing the harsh edges with a paper tissue, adding drops of water for texture, I'm applying more of the greenish mixture to the wet areas on the front right plan. Softening the edges. I'm adding Indigo to the foreground, to the wet areas. Softening the edge with a wet brush and picking up part of the pigment with a paper tissue. I'm painting the grass with a small brush with a fine tip, using Indigo with the already prepared greenish mixture on the palette. I'm adding grass under the tree. I'm adding grass to the front left plan. The paper has dried, and I'm noticing that the part with the bushes looks very dark. I'm moistening it with water and removing part of the pigment with a paper tissue. I'm adding details in the form of grass to the foreground. And I think that the painting is ready now. Such an atmospheric summer landscape with scorched grass. If you have any question or want to share your experience, don't hesitate to leave a comment below. Thank you very much for watching and subscribing. See you in my next video. Happy painting!